many heard of the Washington?
Yes.
When I first, when I first came into the Moorish movement via the Moorish Circle of Mothers and Sons in Cleveland, Ohio, under the late J. Johnson Bay, guess who was taking classes at the same time? Wow. Brother J. Johnson Bay told me and my other brother Sovereign Bay, he said, yeah, we got a sister. And her family's been fighting this land claim for a while. And so we're going to help her, so we're going to get some land. That's what J. Johnson Bay told us. We got a brother right here who is in the Sisters in the Circle. Raise your hand, man. Islam. Tell you all about it. What was her downfall, brother?
Well, she signed a treaty of peace with the Republic of Texas.
The European white supremacist sovereign citizen group called the Republic of Texas. Soon after that, what happened?
Well, they took some hostages. They ended up having a shootout with the federal government, which gave them, the federal government, the impetus or the excuse to raid her because she had an association with this group that they have deemed criminal.
Wow.
And when I had all my personal effects confiscated, went to jail, the same thing the police told us, yeah, we had a shoot to kill order. And you had,
we're going to talk about that in a second.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we're going to talk about that in a second. That's right. You guys heard of that one? Context, people. Remember that magic word. Federal versus state definition of terms. I know, listen people, listen, I can tell you, I literally won a case for a good friend of mine, a brother. It was one of the worst things in retrospect that I ever did. Because this was about 20 years ago. It's 2016, this brother still believes. Because I won the case for him. Wow. Because I had a sympathetic judge who wanted to listen to me. Wow. And let it rock. And at that time period, see, one of the reasons why we were very successful in a lot of these bogus legal arguments, because that's what they are, is because we blindsided the legal system. We weren't prepared. We knew more about it than they did. Wow. It wasn't that we were right. We were just better equipped than them. Wow, that's right. Not in 2016. They see you coming a mile away. Yep, that's right. Not in 2016. I won a case. It was so, I don't even want to go into the details. But I actually won a case based on Murdoch versus Pennsylvania. Wow. I sure did. Sure did. I won it for a brother. And the judge dismissed everything. Win is not really a win. Let's keep that real. A win is a decision in your favor. A dismissal, for whatever reason, is not a win. Because it doesn't make precedence. Can't be used as silence. Right. It just means I ain't go to jail. That's what it means. But anyway, and also too, I use the Black's Law Dictionary definition of a driver. One who is employed in the use of the public highways for commercial purposes. I use the Black's Law Dictionary definition of a motor vehicle. A vehicle used for commercial purposes on the public highway, like a taxi driver or a stagecoach driver. Y'all have heard this before. Y'all heard this before. I used it, but guess what? I was just smarter than the judge. I was just smarter than the DA. They didn't understand context either. Driver's license issues are issues of what? Federal or state?
State.
What definitions should be used? You'll find that the state definitions fit the context and are different than the federal. Wow. Off with the head. Exactly. Wow. Oh, they know that now. They didn't know it then. They didn't know it then. They know it now, though. Right. Okay. Common case law used to argue in favor. It sounds real convincing when you're not versed in how how law works. When you don't understand jurisprudence and you just understand technicalities. Jurisprudence is the spirit of the law. When you don't understand the spirit of the law, when you don't have civics, and you have case laws just being thrown at you in the place of masquerading as civics, then you get stuff like this. Miller versus U.S. Actually, not Thompson. Yeah, it was Thompson versus Smith. That's right. The claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted into a crime. How many of you heard that? This is how it's misinterpreted. Having a driver's license now puts me under the privilege of driving and takes me out of the right to travel. So therefore, the possession of a driver's license converts a right into a privilege and charges a fee for it. Isn't that what we used to say?
Yeah.
Let's go. Snerer versus Cullen. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed upon one because of this exercise of constitutional rights. Constitutional right in this case being understood to be right to travel. Thompson versus Smith. The right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon, either by horse-drawn carriage or by automobile, is not a mere privilege which a city can prohibit or permit at will, but a common right which he has under the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That sounds kind of specific. Guess what? Just like House Joint Resolution 192, people read one part of it, or they hear a European say a part of it, and they take it as the whole of the thing, and then run with it. Yes, sir. They do the same thing in these cases. Somebody just did it just yesterday. Online on our board. But we had to spank it. We said, brother, you never read the case. You literally just cut and paste this off the Sovereign Citizen website. And then we showed him the website. And then we showed him the case. Guess what? With all these cases, none of these cases are topic specific. In other words, none of them deal with motor vehicle licensing. None of them! Now let's give you, since you know these brothers like case law. I like case law. Let's give you some case-specific case law. Hendrick versus Maryland. The movement of motor vehicles over the highways is attended by constant and serious dangers to the public, and is also abnormally destructive to the ways themselves. In the absence of national legislation covering the subject, there is no federal driver's license, no federal travel authority, no federal... It doesn't exist! A state may rightfully prescribe uniform regulations necessary for public safety and order in respect to the operation upon its highways of all motor vehicles, those moving in interstate commerce as well as others, those moving in interstate commerce as well as others. And to this end, it may require the registration of such vehicles and the licensing of their drivers. This is but an exercise of the police power uniformly recognized as belonging to the states and essential to the preservation of the health, safety, and comfort of their citizens. That is case specific.
That's right.
Let's go on. Motor vehicles are dangerous machines, and even when skillfully and carefully operated, their use is attended by serious dangers to persons and property. In the public interest, the state may make and enforce regulations reasonably calculated to promote care on the part of all, residents and non-residents alike, who use its highways. Hess versus Pulowski, 1927. The use of the public highways by motor vehicles with its consequent dangers renders the reasonableness and necessity of regulation apparent. The universal practice is to register ownership of automobiles and to license their drivers. Any appropriate means adopted by the states to ensure confidence and care on the part of the licensees and to protect others using the highway is consonant with due process. Reeds versus Medley, 1941. State versus Skirtle, 1988, recent. This is obviously a growing school of thought. This is my notes, I'm sorry. This is obviously a growing school of thought which has been misguided. The notion of right to travel remains wholly separate from the right or privilege to operate a motor vehicle on the public highways. Please note that the court made a point of discussing many of the arguments against requiring driver's licenses and also rejected the argument that if the travel is not commercial or not connected to government activity, that it is not susceptible to regulation. Montana versus Turk, for those of you that say, well, hey, I'm not traveling in a motor vehicle. I'm not driving a motor vehicle, I'm traveling in my conveyance. Montana versus Turk, using the term automobile and motor vehicle interchangeably. Ain't no way around. Oh, we got more. Aptica versus the Secretary of State. The right to travel is not absolute, people. It is well established that the Constitution permits a state. Let me say that again. It is well established that the Constitution permits a state to regulate the operation of motor vehicles on its roads. In the absence of national legislation covering the subject, the state may rightfully prescribe uniform regulations necessary for the public safety and in order to respect the operation on its highways of all motor vehicles. You all see it. I'm not going to read it all. It's a lot. But the key thing right here, I'm going to read. Therefore, the question before this court is whether the requirement that one obtain a driver's license before driving upon the highways and, in the process, provide one's social security number is a reasonable regulation in furtherance of the state's police power. Here's the disconnect, people. The disconnect in legal understanding regarding right to travel. Number one, the right of states to regulate under its police power does not infringe upon the individual's right to travel. It doesn't. I'm sorry. The right of the state to do so is protected by the Constitution for the securing the safety of life and property. A state is considered a person in the Constitution. It has rights just like individuals have rights. And the Supreme Court and Congress have not deemed that the regulation of rights for the purpose of public safety is an infringement upon your right to travel. Protection of rights is a duty of government and not left up to individuals solely or directly. Let's bring this right home. All right. Let's bring this home. You're in your vehicle with your children. I broadside your vehicle at about 40 miles an hour. Your child's neck is broken. I get out and say, oh, brother, I'm so sorry. And then I go and I grab my vest. But I'm a sovereign and I don't need a license, nor do I need insurance. Handle it yourself. Handle it yourself. You get it now? Yeah. Once again, people. There are no rights without responsibility. There are none. There are none. The word freely does not mean absent regulation. It doesn't. Now we're coming to the close. Final warning. And that's what this is. I want everyone to understand here that this lecture constitutes a public declaration that the Moorish Science Temple of America will no longer be passive.
That's right.
Dealing with these matters.
That's right, brother. Come on.
The Moorish Science Temple of America will no longer be passive.
That's right.
When you look at that symbol on the front of your Quran, it should let you know something.
Come on.
That there are strong angels at every gate.
That's right, man.
And you don't see them.
Islam.
The prophet is quoted as saying, I will use the European to enforce my law. I don't know how true or accurate that is. I will say this. Keep your eyes open.
Yes, sir.
As the brother attested to, federal, state, and local law enforcement training and instructions. Shoot on sight. Wow. Anyone they deem connected to the sovereign citizen movement. Once again, like I said, it is a shame that the complexion, and it's perplexing to law enforcement. Trust me, it is. We've talked to them. They're like, how in the world are your people adopting adopting the tactics and the ideology of people that hate you. They hate you.
Wow. Wow.
What's wrong with y'all? But that's okay.
Wow.
We have our orders.
Wow.
Right.
Do you know why they're given a shoot on sight order? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you what a police captain told me personally. You have a stone cold killer gangbang out in the street. You got bodies under it. Does he do it in broad daylight like he can't get arrested? No. Because even though he's out there wrong as two left shoes, he knows that he does not want to get caught and go to jail. Which means in his heart he knows he's wrong. Guess what that means? He can be reformed. Someone who really believes in their heart what they're doing is 100% right cannot be reformed. And in another school of thought, they ask the question. Right? I won't ask you, we all know what it is. Can't be reformed. Gotta be killed. That's why. And then they've had incidences where they pulled over on traffic stops on the highway, Europeans, sovereign citizens, and father and son got out blasted.
That's true. That's true.
Why would you want to inherit such a punishment?
Wow.
Why?